Hey guys, welcome to my Week 12 Upset Alerts prediction. So this is the top 5 teams that should be on upset alert going into Week 12 of the 2023 college football season. Now, I'm not saying that these teams are going to lose. I'm just saying that they need to be careful. They are on upset alert this weekend. If you want to see who I predict will win and lose, just go to my Week 12 college football predictions video. But let's go ahead and get started. So I did pick 5 teams or 5 games where the teams need to be on upset alert. The very first game that stood out to me is at 2:30 on the Pac-12 network. We have number 22 Utah at 7-3 versus number 17 Arizona at 7-3. So this game is virtually a pick-em. Arizona comes in as the favorites. They are 1-point favorites over under 46.5. So this is almost an evenly matched game right now. Both of these teams are 7-3. For Utah, they did start out the year hot. They got into the top 10. They've been without Cam Rising the whole season. They are averaging 25.3 points per game, and they have a top 15 defense, giving up 17.8 points per game. This is a very physical team under Kyle Whittingham. This team is not to be underestimated. Like I said, very physical. Barnes has been playing pretty good as of late. Now, I was harping on their offense the whole year, but the last 3 weeks or so, they've actually played pretty well. So they've gotten something cooking right now. So they are a physical team. They can run the ball. They play really good defense. They have very sound special teams. For Arizona, they're one of the surprise teams in the Pac-12 this year. They have 3 losses. They have 3 really close losses. They barely lost to the Trojans. They barely lost to Washington. So that's pretty good losses for a team that came out of nowhere, led by Jedfish. They have Fifitia at quarterback. They have Coleman at running back. They have McMillan at wide receiver. They have a lot of weapons here. They are averaging 31.1 points per game. That's good enough to be top 25 in the nation. They have a very sound top 25 defense, giving up 20.9 points per game. So this is a very well-rounded team, very physical team, but Arizona needs to be on upset alert here. Now, it seems like Utah should be the favorite team because they're always in the top 25, but it's actually Arizona that's the favorite. They're the ones that need to be on upset alert this weekend because this game always favors Utah. They are always the more physical team, no matter who they play. They are going to come to play physical, hard-hitting defense. They are going to bottle up the quarterback, shut down the run game, force them to go vertical. But Utah does have a lot of injuries this year, namely at quarterback, but also in their linebacking core. So they are pretty banged up. But Arizona definitely needs to be on upset alert. Do not take this game for granted. I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to lose. I'm just saying do not underestimate Utah. No one should. Kyle Whittingham is the most underappreciated coach in the country. The next team that we have that should be on upset alert for Week 12 is at 3:30 on ESPN. We have number 20 North Carolina Tar Heels sitting at 8-2 for 6-4 Clemson. Clemson 7.5-point favorites here. Over under is 59.5. So Vegas has this being a pretty high scoring game. Clemson is actually the favorite, so it's UNC that should be on upset alert. They are the ranked team, but they come into this game as the underdog. But they actually have the better playmaker. So they have Drake May at quarterback. He is closing in on 3,200 yards, 21 touchdowns, 6 picks. He is a top 5 draft pick as of right now. They have Hampton at running back. He is closing in on 1,300 rushing yards. Walker at wide receiver, he has 600 yards, and the guy's only played 4 to 5 games. So they can definitely light it up on offense. They are averaging 39.9 points per game. That's top 15 right there. They have an okay defense. They get torched at times. Sometimes they play well. They're just kind of average. They give up 25.5 points per game. For Clemson, they have an offense that for the last 2 weeks has actually played pretty well. So that's actually why they are the favorites in this game. But overall, they are averaging 30.3 points per game, and their defense, they have a top 20 defense giving up 21.2 points per game. Clemson's defense gets after the quarterback. They will be seeking to bottle up the run game. Drake May does scramble a lot, so they will be looking to keep him in the pocket, shut down Hampton, force Drake May to have to throw the ball. But the thing is Drake May is a top 5 quarterback. He can throw the ball. He has Walker at wide receiver. That's his primary weapon. Outside of him, he really has no go-to guy. but it is going to be pretty hard to shut down Drake May. But Clemson is the favorite here because their offense has looked better recently, and they have a very good physical, fast defense. So UNC needs to be on upset alert. They are the ranked team. They should be favored here, but there's a reason that they're not favored because everybody doubts their defense. That's why they have this game being a shootout, and that's why they have Clemson winning in a big, high-scoring shootout. Now, like I said, I'm not saying that UNC will lose the game. If you want to see my prediction, just go to my Week 12 predictions video. But UNC should definitely be taking Clemson serious here. UNC is hoping that Louisville loses and that they can somehow squeak into the ACC championship game to play Florida State. They have to win every single game from this point forward. This is also Mac Brown's last year with Drake May. He needs to take advantage of Drake May, try to get the 10 wins on the season. The number 3 team that I think should be on upset alert is at 4 p.m. on ESPN2. We have number 23 Oklahoma State sitting at 7-3 versus Houston at 4-6. So Oklahoma State comes into this game as 6.5-point favorites here, and the over/under is 58.5. So Vegas has this being a pretty high-scoring game. Now, Oklahoma State just got torched last weekend by UCF. What, they lose like 45-3 or something horrible. They gave up a lot of yards on the ground. So the big thing for Oklahoma State is, number one, they probably should have been kicked out of the top 25 last weekend, losing to a 4-win team. They did lose. They got beat up. They are still ranked right now. They are the favorite in this game. Do not overlook the Houston Cougars. They are 4-6, but this is a Dana Holgorsen coach team. They can always score points. Oklahoma State does not have a good defense. So this game is definitely building up to be a shootout. In a shootout, it's anyone's game. So Houston barely lost to Texas, almost beat Texas because their quarterback Smith went off throwing for almost 400 yards. Right now he has 2,400 yards, 20 touchdowns, 10 picks, and they have Brown at wide receiver closing in on 800 yards. So this is definitely a team that can test you going vertically. Now, Oklahoma State, they have virtually no passing game. So the big thing is you have to shut down the running game. If you shut down Gordon at running back, they've shown they cannot get first downs. But they do have one of the best running backs in the country. Gordon's closing in on 1,300 yards. He can be a difference maker. This guy's gone for over 200 yards 3 to 4 games so far this season, so he can light it up. But like I said, if you shut him down, they have shown that they are going absolutely nowhere. Looking at the team stats, Oklahoma State averages 27.9 points per game, but they give up 26.4 points per game, so it's almost 50-50 here. Houston scores 24.1 points per game, but they give up 30.8 points per game. So both of these teams have pretty questionable defenses. There's going to be a lot of points scored here. Like I mentioned, whenever you get into shootouts, anyone can win the game. Oklahoma State does not have the quarterback to rely on this year. Sanders did transfer to Ole Miss, so it's all going to be on Gordon's shoulders. Oklahoma State should not underestimate Houston, and they should definitely be on upset alert this weekend. The next matchup that we should have that is on upset alert is the matchup of the weekend to me. That's at 7:30 on ABC. Number 5, Washington sitting at 10-0, undefeated, versus Oregon State sitting at 8-2. They are number 11. Oregon State is 11, but they actually come in here as the favorites. 1-point favorites, so this game is virtually a pick-em, over under 62.5. So this game is going to be a shootout. But you definitely see why. So Washington, Michael Penix Jr. closing in on 3,600 yards, 28 touchdowns, 7 picks. He did lead the nation in passing last year, and he's probably going to do it again this year. He is number 1 or 2 for the Heisman right now. So it is between him and Bo Nix. This guy can light it up. He has the best, if not the second best, wide receiver core in the country right now. The primary wideout is Odunze, and he has over 1,100 yards. So they can light it up. Their running game has looked pretty good for the last 3 weeks. So that was the biggest question mark, was they were too reliant on the passing game, but they have gotten the running game going. But Oregon State is not to be underestimated here. So they have DJU coming in here. He is the transfer from Clemson. He's closing in on 2,300 yards, 20 touchdowns, 4 picks, and they also have a really good running back in Martinez. He has 1,000 yards so far this season. So they can throw it, they can run it. Washington is the best passing team in the country here. Looking at the total team stats here, Washington averages 41 points per game. That's massive. They have a decent defense, giving up 23.5 points per game. So Washington's defense kind of flip-flops. They do really good, and then they give up 40 points. So you don't really know who is going to show up here, but they have a serviceable defense. For Oregon State, they're not far behind. They average 37.9 points per game, and they also have a top 25 defense, only giving up 20.5 points per game. So roster-wise, Washington definitely has the top-heavy roster because they have really good wideouts. They have a pretty decent secondary. But Oregon State, they won 10 games last year. They have no home after this season because the Pac-12 is getting dissolved. So they are out on a revenge tour. They want to beat the crap out of these teams leaving the conference. So even though Washington is the higher-ranked team, the undefeated team, they come into this game as the underdogs. That's why they should be on upset alert. This game can easily be like a 45-40 game, whoever has the ball last. But if I'm Washington, I'm very thankful that I have Michael Penix. Because if it comes down to a one-possession game and you have the ball last, he's shown every single game this year he can get a touchdown. So that's their saving grace there, but they should definitely be on upset alert. They've had a really tough schedule. This is like their fourth top 25 team, so they have one of the more difficult schedules so far this year. They want to win out. They want to face Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. They have to win this game, but they definitely need to be on the lookout. They have the toughest test this weekend. The next team and the final team that should be on upset alert this weekend is at 8 p.m. on Fox. We have number 7, Texas Longhorns sitting at 9-1 versus Iowa State at 6-4. So Texas comes into this game as favorites, 7.5-point favorites here. The over-under is 46.5. So people might be saying, why should the Longhorns be on upset alert versus Iowa State? Because Iowa State has the history of beating and upsetting Big 12 championship teams at the very end of the year. That would not be surprising to see that happen. Again, they always play Texas, and they do beat Texas a lot. So Iowa State started out the year pretty sloppily, but the last month, they've been really hot. They have a really good defense, a very physical defense, and their offense has definitely been playing a lot better. So when you look at the rosters, there's definitely a massive gap here. Texas is loaded. They have Quinn Ewers. They have a first-round tight end. They have Worthy. They have Mitchell. They have one of the best overall rosters in the country, and they also have a top 20 defense as of right now. So they can beat you running, throwing. They can beat you on offense. They can beat you on defense. They could beat you through special teams. They have a great kicker. Very good team. But Texas has looked really sloppy the last month. So they have a propensity basically to have a massive first half lead, and second half they completely fall apart and get outscored and win the game by 3 to 4 points. That's fine versus really bad teams, but Iowa State is a physical second half team. They want to beat you up at the line of scrimmage, wear you down, second half take the lead. Texas cannot afford to not take this game serious here because they need to be playing better second half. They just lost Brooks at running back. One of the top 5 running backs in the country, lost him for the year this week. He was closing in on 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. That is a massive loss. So Quinn Ewers has always had a good running game to rely on. He had Bijan Robinson the last 2 years. He had Brooks this year. Now Brooks is gone, and they're down to their backup and their depth at the running back position. That could be a huge game changer here because when you're playing these physical teams, you need a really good physical running back. That guy's now gone for the year. So that puts more pressure on Quinn Ewers. Coming into this year, Quinn Ewers was a top 10 pick. He was in the talk for the Heisman. All of that's died down because it seems like after he scorched Alabama, he's completely fallen off the map. He just hasn't been doing much. Maybe that's because he hasn't had to, but maybe he will need to step up this week. So he definitely needs to get back on track. When you look at the team stats, Texas comes into this game averaging 33.8 points per game. That's good. That's, top 25, top 30. But a lot of other teams are pushing 40s and up. So Texas needs to get the offensive production up, namely in the passing game. But their defense only gives up 18.4 points per game. So like I said, they have a top 20 defense. So that's one of their saving graces is if Quinn Ewers can't pick it up on offense, they always have that defense to rely on. But Iowa State is not a slouch here. So they average 25.7 points per game, but they also have a top 20 defense, giving up 19.9 points per game. So Texas cannot underestimate this team. They always play Texas tough. Everybody in the Big 12 wants to upset Texas right now because after this year, Texas is leaving for the SEC. So they want to get their last jab in. Texas, though, you are in front of Bama. Everything is in front of you. Just win out, get to the Big 12 championship, and you could potentially have a rematch versus your only loss, that is Oklahoma. If you beat them and you win out, you are in the playoffs. So a lot of pressure on them, but just focus on every team week by week. So that's my breakdown of the top 5 upset alert teams this weekend. I'm not saying that they're going to lose, but they need to be on the lookout. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks.